Hello and welcome. My name is JT, and I'll be your host for this week's Algorand News. The news this week includes a partnership that will deliver 4G mobile phones preloaded with Algorand's technology in Africa. New hires at Algorand and the Foundation, including hires from Cardano and Citibank. An Algorand standard asset partnering with Visa, Algorand's total value locked metrics, price action, as well as governance participation, along with some overall market news. Be sure to stick around to the end because you aren't going to want to miss any of it. If you enjoy the content, please smash that like button, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Now, let's get on with the news. Firstly, we have Algorand phones in Africa. The CEO of the Algorand Foundation, Stacey Warden, was a recent guest on The Scoop, a popular crypto podcast where she quickly mentioned a really interesting new partnership. Regarding the partnership, Stacey said that Algorand technology will be loaded onto 4G phones and distributed throughout Africa. She went further to say, and I quote, "One of these problems is financial inclusion, which the Algorand Foundation is looking to address through an upcoming partnership with an organization that is planning to make 4G mobile phones preloaded with Algorand's tech available to people in Africa who might otherwise be unable to access traditional financial services." Now, there was no mention of the name of this partner, and it seems like we may have to wait until the end of the summer to learn more about this partnership. However, I suspect that this will be a huge deal, so you'll surely want to keep an eye on this one. On to other news, there have been many notable hires at both Algorand and the Algorand Foundation recently. The most exciting new hire, in my opinion, is John Woods as Chief Technology Officer at the Algorand Foundation. Before joining Algorand, John was the Director of Cardano Architecture at IOHK, the leading company behind the Cardano blockchain. John was also a lead architect and applied cryptographer at both Informatica and Consensus, as well as a senior solution architect at the Central Bank of Ireland. In his role as CTO at the Algorand Foundation, Woods will oversee infrastructure development, technical partnerships, and developer tooling, education, and engagement. He will focus in particular on removing friction from the developer UX, clarifying and improving the developer education journey, and adding tools and resources for building applications on Algorand. Regarding his new position, Woods said, "Algorand has best-in-class tech when it comes to speed, scale, and security, so improving the overall experience is now the most important catalyst for Algorand's mass adoption, and I am very excited to deliver on that." Now, this is an exciting new hire in my opinion because I agree with and appreciate the focus on developing a great user experience. That is how Algorand will reach mass adoption. Plus, he may be able to take what he learned at Cardano and apply what worked over at Algorand. Now, the second notable newcomer to Algorand is Alberto Cribio. Alberto will join Algorand's board of directors. Alberto has nearly 40 years of experience in the private equity and banking space, spending the last 14 years as vice chairman of the Institutional Clients Group at Citi. Now, this role includes serving some of Citi's largest and most important clients, cooperating with CEOs and board of directors of global companies, governments, and central banks. Now, regarding the appointment to Algorand's board of directors, Alberto said, "Blockchain technology will rewire the financial infrastructure that supports the global economy and change financial services dramatically. As an Algorand board member, I will contribute my experience in traditional finance to help bring Algorand's technically superior blockchain innovation to the world at scale." Now, regarding Alberto's appointment, Algorand's founder and board chairman, Silvio Micali, had this to say, "We are thrilled to have Alberto joining our board of directors, as few people in the world have achieved Alberto's level of success in the financial services industry. As Algorand shifts its focus from building the product to bringing the product to market to solve real-world problems, Alberto's help and mentorship will be pivotal for our adoption by the financial services industry, he concluded. A lot of big hires for Algorand lately. Moving on to other news, Agrotoken has expanded its partnership with Visa. Agrotoken is a global agricultural commodities tokenization platform. They created the Agrotokens for soy, corn, and wheat, the first crypto assets collateralized by grains. Now, last month, Agrotoken announced a partnership with Visa to co-create a payment method that enables agricultural producers to use their grains as a form of payment through a card. The goal of this collaboration is to design a digital solution that allows the emission of digital and physical cards and enable the use of financial tools and products using the Agrotoken and Visa features. Agrotoken incorporates Pomelo as the infrastructure to issue, distribute, and process the payments made with the card, which will soon be supported at any store that accepts Visa. The Algorand blockchain will make all operations transparent, fast, secure, with high scalability and low energy consumption. Each Agrotoken represents 1 ton of grain that the producer delivered for storage. Every ton is validated through a proof of grain reserves, a transparent, safe, decentralized, and auditable system. Agrotoken uses a multi-chain security infrastructure powered by Ethereum, Polygon, and Algorand, according to the optimal use cases for each one. Once the producers have their digital assets, they can use them to perform different operations, including consulting the grain price indexes in real time, requesting loans collateralized by grains, and soon paying daily expenses with a card. This, in my opinion, is a huge deal and could completely revolutionize the agricultural sector. Be sure to keep an eye on this development. Next up in the news regards Algorand's total value locked, governance participation, and price action. Algorand's TVL, or total value locked, has been increasing rapidly. At the time of recording, Algorand's TVL is up 72% from just a month ago and 68% from just a week ago, putting Algorand in the top 5 and 3 in terms of growth for those 2 timeframes. Quite impressive for a bear market, if you ask me. Now, not including borrows, Algorand's TVL is about $200 million. This is roughly 20% away from its all-time high at the beginning of the year, roughly $237 million. This has moved Algorand just 1 spot away from the top 20 chains regarding TVL metrics. Now, this is welcome news because when I wrote my first article about Algorand back in February, link in the description down below, the market cap to TVL ratio of the chain was a rough 46. Now, that ratio has come down to an 11. Remember, the closer to 0 is undervalued and the further from 0 is overvalued by this single metric. Now, for context, Ethereum has a market cap to TVL ratio of 2.7. Avalanche's ratio is 1.6 and Solana's ratio is 4.7. Algorand is catching up, but there is still work to be done in this area. Now, Algorand's unique governance structure coupled with its growing DeFi ecosystem are certainly the primary causes of this explosive growth in TVL. This round of Algorand Governance saw 4.1 billion algos committed, which is nearly 60% of the circulating supply. Of that 4.1 billion, 305 million were committed through lending and liquid governance platforms such as Folks Finance, AlgoFi, and Guard. That is roughly 7.5% of all committed algos going through DeFi, a nearly 4x increase from the last governance period. I suspect as the months go on and these DeFi governance options grow more community trust, we could see another 3 to 4x in governance participation through these various DeFi options. If this bodes true, we could see 23 to 30% of the governance commitment flowing through DeFi next round. Now, this would equate to around 1.1 billion algo and around $400 million in TVL at current prices just from governance alone. I suppose time will tell if this hunch will be accurate, but this rise in TVL has been followed by a rise in price. From its lows, the Algo coin has seen a rise of roughly 35%. This is very welcomed, but I would proceed with caution as we are still stuck in a downtrend and some negative catalysts may be on the horizon for the entire market. More on that next. Now, the last bit of news I want to cover regards the Federal Reserve, inflation, rate hikes, and more. Now, as most of you are aware, inflation is soaring, and the Federal Reserve is scrambling to raise interest rates to fight it. So far, the Fed has raised interest rates from 0.25% to 1.75% and plan to go even further. Meanwhile, last month's headline inflation came in at a whopping 9.1%, the highest inflation in over 40 years. This has led some to speculate that the next rate hike will be a 100 basis point hike, the largest hike in decades. Rate hikes come out of the Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC, and the next one is set for July 27th. This is one of those negative catalysts I mentioned earlier. Now, the Fed has signaled that they will likely stick to a 75 basis point hike on the 27th, but the bond market is pricing in at least a 45% chance that there is a 100 basis point hike, which would not be good for the markets in the short term. Though the 9.1% inflation reading is alarming enough to consider a 100 basis point hike, it could be reasonable that the Fed remains course with a 75 basis point hike due to the fact that it is likely that inflation readings could come lower than expected next month due to the drop in some commodity pricing. However, another negative catalyst could come the day after rate hikes. July 28th, the Bureau of Economic Analysis comes out with their GDP data. This data will either confirm or not whether we are in a recession. Remember, to be in a recession, we need 2 quarters of negative growth. The first quarter of 2022 was negative, and on the 28th, we will have the data on the second quarter. If this data confirms a recession, this may create short-term fear in the market. Now, personally, I am not too worried since this data does not mark the beginning of a recession. Rather, it marks the 6-month mark of a recession. Now, this type of lagging indicator may not mean all that much in the grand scheme of things, but it certainly could spook the market, so be on the lookout for that. Alright, that just about wraps it up for the news today, folks. If you enjoyed the content, smash the thumbs up button, comment below with your thoughts, subscribe, and ping that notification bell. To support the channel further, consider becoming a YouTube member by clicking the join button next to my channel name. Or check the description down below for my newsletter. I have 2 publications out so far, with more on the way. Much of that work is completely free, with only a small portion behind a paywall, so go check it out in the description down below. Also, while you're down there, check out all the other affiliate links you could use to help the channel. And for those feeling extra generous, consider donating to this wallet address you see on your screen or in the description down below. All monetary support will go towards growing the channel and bringing you more and better content. I appreciate each and every one of you. That is all the time I have for today. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video, and we will catch you in the next one. Thanks.